it's me, Dr. KT, and welcome to ODDDUCKSCIENCE. And today, I want to talk about something sweet that is causing chaos in our bodies, no matter your gender or your demographic. It's called sucrose, aka table sugar, aka what's in the cabinet that is a big bag of white substance. Now, sucrose is a carbohydrate made up of two sugars, fructose and glucose. Our bodies need carbohydrates because they turn it into energy so that we can maintain our daily activities. Our brain functions optimally with that glucose that is coming in from sucrose. You may be saying, okay, Dr. KT, so what's the issue? The issue is in anything in excess, there's a cause for dysfunction, disruption, and just chaos. The recommended dietary guidelines for sugar for women is 6 teaspoons. For men, about 9 teaspoons. And a can of soda has about at least 12 teaspoons. So we're already over that amount. And because we're over that, the data is now suggesting that we are more than doubling the amount of added sugars. I mean, look at the things in your pantry and in your refrigerator. Ketchup has added sugar. Mayonnaise has added sugar. Even things like salad dressings. All of that sugar is added. Now, I'm not talking about that natural sugar from the peaches and the plums that we love. These are things that are added in addition. Now, we'll know that sugar has been linked to tooth decay, weight gain, heart disease, and obesity. So what happened is some industry minds said we need a safer and healthier alternative. And what came is they made an artificial version called Sucralose, aka the yellow packet Splenda. Now this artificial sweetener is 600 times sweeter than sugar. You can find it in diet soda, you can find it in sugar-free candy, and now some data is coming out that's saying it's linked to an increase in breast cancer, insulin resistance, preterm birth, and an increase in mental decline of about 1.4 years. Now, I'm a toxicologist, so I have to talk about toxicity. Researchers have shown that working with sucralose, aka Splenda, at high temperatures changes its composition. So high temperature changes, think about baking. And for those of you who vape or know someone who's vaping or using those electronic cigarettes that has that flavoring, yeah, they're inhaling those toxic compounds that sucralose is making at those extreme temperatures. Now, I know you're like, at this point, there has to be some type of regulation. And you're right, but let's go down the list and analyze them. First one, sucralose was approved and last reviewed by the FDA in the US for use in 1998. It hasn't been touched since. Now, sucralose is also approved across the pond in the EU, but can't be used in food or supplements for infants and young children. I wonder why. The EU Food Safety Authority also determined that they could not confirm the safety of sucralose in food that involved heating. Remember, we just talked about baking with it or vaping at those high temperatures. Now, here's where it gets more interesting. In 2023, the WHO, the World Health Organization, recommended artificial sweeteners not to be used to lose weight, and also said these things may increase type 2 diabetes. Now, there's one state in the US that's always going to be forward thinking and pushing the envelope, and that is California. California now has a bill that states that food and beverages containing artificial sweeteners will be considered ultra processed and restricted in school meals beginning in 2029. I know you're like, oh gosh, Dr. KT. Yes. Now you know we have to get into the 3 Ds. The first D, decoding the science. What do we know? Sucrose is a carbohydrate that we consume. Our body needs it to function, so it breaks it down into things like glucose, which is a readily acceptable sugar that our body takes. And in excess, it causes havoc. So to decrease the havoc, some industry minds decided to come up with an artificial sweetener, and we're seeing the effects of that as well. Second D, diversify. What does that mean to me? What does that mean to my community? Oh my goodness, aren't we all addicted to sugar? How many times after meal do we say, oh, I want something sweet? I am guilty. And how many of us know people in our community that have type 2 diabetes? And it's usually coming because of the oversaturation of the added sugars. Again, it's in everything. And when we have people that are being diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, we have to think of it as in a community, because that affects everyone. Because what happens? People start getting sick, and people who have insurance or don't have insurance, medical prices are starting to rise. So medication, what we see, people may start skipping out on medication, or they may start rationing it out. So then when they do go to the doctor's office, it's exasperated in their condition, which wreaks havoc on their family and their community. So we have to look at how these things not only just affect us, but everyone else around us. Like healthcare premiums end up going up because we're not doing what's called preventative care. What can we do to actually prevent these things from happening, or before they get forward too fast before we can change direction? Which leads me into the third D, dazzle. How can I put my own dazzle on all that I just learned? I am so glad you asked. We're going to become smarter consumers. And I know by this time you're probably saying, Dr. KT, the heaviness, the lift is always on us. It is, because we are a community. So what we're going to do is we're going to start looking at the labels. We're not going to be fooled anymore by things that say low fat or low calorie, because just because it says those things does not inherently mean that it's good for us. It could have an excessive amount of added sugars, which we already talked about, which is linked to diabetes, obesity, and so many more things. We're going to switch out water packets. You know those little flavored packets that we like? We're gonna switch those out and go back to some very simple things, like putting fruit in the water, strawberries, blueberries, blackberries, mints. You know, the nice kind of water cooler you get when you go to the hotels. We're gonna try things like that. And we're gonna get rid of that yellow packet. This Splenda, get rid of it. Let's do some research and look at more natural ways of getting sugar, like beet sugar is one of the things that I've seen. You've seen people even talk about agave to sweeten things. Let's look at some healthier options. And when you do indulge, just do it in moderation. I surely had me an oatmeal raisin cookie today after church, and it was delicious. So as always, I hope you learned something today. And remember, science is accessible for everyone. Until the next time, have a glorious day.